Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Michelle here from SolarEdge. We'll give it about 5 more minutes. I just wanted to open up the bridge and test my audio and visuals. Can somebody please raise your hand and let me know that you can see my screen and you can hear me okay? Thank you, Edgar. Okay, we'll get started in about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes or so. I do want to point out there's a questions box here that you can ask questions in, and I will make sure that those are prioritized and answered throughout the webinar today. So if you have any questions, please put them in that questions box. Okay, it looks like quite a few people are joining. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. Again, quick reminder, the questions box is open and please ask questions throughout that questions box. We'll make sure to prioritize all those questions throughout this conversation. We will share this recording afterwards, so if you have any team members that couldn't join us live, we will have this recording available. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. I see quite a few more people joining, so we'll give them a couple more minutes. Okay, thank you everybody for joining. I think we'll get going now. Just a quick reminder here, we do have a questions box. My priority today is making sure your questions are answered. So please use that questions box to interact. I will make sure we answer those today. If you haven't met me, if we haven't met in person, I'm Michelle Spina, the Sales Education Manager here at SolarEdge. I've been in solar for about 12 years now, on the sales side as well as training side in the industry. And there's definitely a reason why I am at SolarEdge, and that's really the technology advantage that we have that I'm hoping to share with you today. So we will jump in. Today we're going to talk mostly about the Home Wave Inverter, but happy to answer any other questions about our other products as needed. But really wanted to dial in the advantages of our technology as a DC optimized solution and what advantages you have with the Home Wave Inverter. All right, so first let's talk about who SolarEdge is. We get this question a lot. You know, we are the #1 inverter company globally. We're known as an optimized solution because all of our products will have optimizers on the roof and an inverter on the wall. So we have both residential and commercial products, but we also are in grid services, utility scale products. So we are in several different facets of the renewable energy industry. We are based in Israel. All of our founders, as well as our engineers and our innovators, have come from the Israeli military, and that's where our main headquarters is. I do want to address that, we've gotten so many questions in the last couple of days and concerns about what's happening in Israel currently and how that might impact us as a company. Here's the good news. We're in 133 countries. The majority of our manufacturing is no longer in Israel, but rather our engineers, R&D, our CEO, our C-level employees are in Israel. And so our actual supply will not be impacted by the challenges that are happening in Israel right now. So if you do have any concerns over that, please ask questions. We do want to answer them. We do have about 300 employees that were called into service this week in Israel. But one huge thing about the Israeli culture is they're very resilient and they keep moving on. So we are working in North America specifically, and we'll talk about the manufacturing for North America and where that's coming from, so that you can be assured that you'll have ample supply of our products moving forward. So a couple of things that are really important to note is quality and reliability in our products. So we manufacture all of our own products in our own facilities, and we test in 4 extreme weather condition profiles. So we make sure that our products can sustain extreme heat and extreme cold. Each of those units undergo component traceability so that we know where each component has come from, but also scanned so that if there are any issues within the assembly line, within the process, we can figure out that break in the chain very quickly and we can address it right at that station. So, we can be assured that this isn't going to come off the line and into your homes before we understand any issues are occurring. We also utilize third-party reliability verification to test all of our products in all of our manufacturing facilities to make sure that we have the highest quality. So we do have 10 R&D facilities globally. I will say for North America specifically, all of our products for residential right now are coming from our Guadalajara facility in Mexico. And we actually opened that up a couple of years ago when I'm sure this team realized, there were supply challenges industry-wide because we were, having to ship things overseas, and there were a lot of challenges with that type of global shipment. So our focus was to open a manufacturing facility where we could just drive over the border with all of our equipment. And now that Guadalajara facility is manufacturing all of our North America products so that we don't have to worry about supply challenges. Additionally, a couple of weeks ago, we opened up our Austin, Texas facility for domestic manufacturing, and the majority of inverters and optimizers will be coming out of there for the residential space, probably by the middle of the year next year. All of our new products are pilot tested on employee sites as well. So we really stress test all of our products in the field even before we go to general availability on all of our employee sites. So that is another measure that we take in addition to all of our manufacturing testing. We make sure to pilot test all of it in the field as well. For you as an installer, you also have enhanced support on the back end. So we have something called no-call RMA, which allows you to submit for reimbursement of a repair or replacement without calling into the call center. So you can actually just do it all through the support portal. We have a lot of remote troubleshooting options as well, so that you aren't having to send people out to site. And then we do have a My SolarEdge app for our homeowners that allow your homeowners to also see what's going on with their system at any time. Okay, so let's talk about the technology advantage. I mentioned that I've been in the industry for a long time. I sold several products, starting with string inverters a long time ago, and then going to, microinverters and the optimized solution. And I want to talk about today kind of what differentiates us as a DC optimized solution in terms of efficiency gain and other advantages as well. So here's what we're talking about today, the home wave inverter. This is the ideal solution for solar only homeowners for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to give them the highest efficiency available, because remember, we have an optimized solution. So that means that we have those optimizers on the roof that allow for module level tracking, but also module level maximization and optimization. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But this for your homeowners means 99.9% efficiency within this inverter. For installers, this is an easy commissioning process because it's now all through an app. So we have no screens on our inverters anymore. One less component to go wrong when it comes to inverters is a screen, and we don't have that anymore. We have LED lights on our inverter that allow for troubleshooting potential errors showing up on those LED lights, but also commissioning and troubleshooting through SetApp, which is an app-based remote management system for all installers. Design flexibility is very important with our solution as well. For you, it means longer strings, the ability to be able to put more modules on one string and have more flexibility, especially on multi-level roof planes, without having to add additional strings. And we also have the ability to oversize our inverter to 155% AC to DC ratio. So usually the standard oversizing would be, 130, 135%, but because of our efficiency gain, we have the ability to oversize to 155%, and you still get that same efficiency through our inverter. We have a wide range of sizes. Each of these sizes sit on a different breaker size. So 3.8, for example, sits on a 20 amp breaker. 5 and 6 both sit on 30 amp breakers. 7.6 sits on a 40 amp breaker, which is really our most popular inverter, is that 7.6. It has a lot of flexibility and it only sits on 40 amps. And then we have our 10 and 11.4 on a 50 amp and a 60 amp breaker for those larger system sizes. So probably the biggest thing I have to combat, especially with sales teams, is, well, SolarEdge is a string inverter. And that is obviously not true, but that's a piece of education that we have to let salespeople know specifically, because SolarEdge has those optimizers. So I like to show this, and sometimes with homeowners even, especially those ones that are really tech-savvy engineers, sometimes they really appreciate this visual as well. So this really shows what happens in terms of shading for each inverter topology. So let's talk about the string inverter. When one module is shaded, the rest of that string is going to be producing at the lowest performing module. So this happens, string inverters are less expensive. They are good in situations when there is no shading or no obstructions at all. Maybe in the high desert when there's no risk of trees, those types of things. But it is a challenge because efficiency is dramatically decreased when there's shading or any type of obstructions. I remember I used to sell these a long time ago, and even chimneys that would cast a shadow would cause production challenges within that string inverter. So these are always performing at the lowest performing module at all times. Then we have a microinverter solution. This is what we call a module level power electronic, just like an optimizer would be, but it's a bit different because they're converting up at a module level. So they have taken that string inverter, they've shrunk it down, they've put one on every single module. So they're working at a module level. They're converting up there at a module level. The good news with a microinverter is they're not impacted by shading. So if you see here on that one module that was shaded, That's really the only one that's going to be impacted by shading. But the challenge here is because we're converting at a module level, you're actually limiting yourself to the amount of energy that can be converted up there. So let's do a quick math here. So if you're using a 400 watt module and you pair that with an IQ8 Plus, for example, does anybody know the maximum wattage output that that IQ8 Plus is going to do continuously at any given time? I wouldn't expect this group to memorize a spec sheet, but IQ8 Plus maximum continuous wattage output that it can do at any given time. Anybody? Ooh, okay, a couple people do know. So 290 watts is the maximum that you would be able to do with an IQ8 Plus. So what happens when you have a 400 watt module and you can only convert 290 watts from that module? You're clipping energy at a module level. So this is what happens with a microinverter every time. It's really just the technology in terms of that conversion at a module level is it's now clipping at a module level as well. So that module will never reach that full 400 watts. It's always going to only reach about 290 watts at any given time. And then we have the optimized solution with SolarEdge. And this is different because remember, we have a inverter on the wall. That's where we convert the energy. We're converting at one single source. We do that on purpose because we want to be able to harvest all the energy possible from the roof. So if you have a 400 watt module up here, we want it to reach its full potential if it's able to, right? And I think that we all are good with technology. We understand that needs to be best conditions possible for that to hit that 400 watts, right? The sun has to be hitting at the right point, the right time. But we want that module to reach its full potential if it's possible, or at the very least, reach over 290 watts all the time, right? So these optimizers are really what they're doing is, number one, they're allowing us to track on a module basis. But number two, they're allowing us to be flexible with the voltage on that string. So what I mean by that is if there's a shaded module here, we can actually what we call buck and boost. In this case, it would be boost. We can actually up the voltage on the neighboring optimizers, and they can work overtime for the underperforming module. They can say, hey, this guy is not performing to standard. Let's actually boost our voltage so that we can make up for some of this shading on this one module. So we have flexibility to kind of move around the voltage with these optimizers whenever possible, so that we can get the maximum amount from that roof at any given time. So this is kind of what I mean by this dotted line box here is we're making up for some of that shading just because we're increasing and boosting that voltage. For your homeowners, this equates to about 3 to 5 days of extra production every single year. So this allows, and I don't know if this team has done this before, but when you side by side a proposal, SolarEdge versus a microinverter solution, same system size, same design, you will see that you over time will have higher production with a SolarEdge system. And it's really because of this technology, being able to leverage the optimizers and not clipping at a module level. Okay, so this is what we hear sometimes from people. You may have been told that the SolarEdge system works like Christmas tree lights. When one panel's down, all panels go down. Now that we've seen that whole inverter topology slide, we know that's not the case. That would be a string inverter, right? When one module goes down, all panels are going to be impacted. The truth on the SolarEdge system is that power optimizers are going to make each module work independently and allow you to boost production to help overcome shading. So that equates to up to 5 days of extra production every year. This is probably the biggest one we have to overcome is SolarEdge has a single point of failure and microinverters don't. So a couple of things here. Number one, all technologies in solar have to combine power from the panels at a single point. And for a microinverter solution, that's the combiner box. Those boxes actually only have a 5-year manufacturer's warranty. Whereas with SolarEdge, you have a 12-year standard warranty and you can extend to 25 years. And again, I mentioned earlier, we do this technology on purpose. We want this architecture where we have the inverter on the wall and the optimizers on the roof. The inverter in the system, no matter what inverter you're using, has the most critical components within it. So it's the brains of the system. And it has the highest technology associated with it in the whole system. We know the panels, they're just collecting energy, right? And the inverter is really the thing that's working overtime and thinking the hardest. We want to have one brain within that system. We don't want to have 30 to 40 brains on the roof that also happen to be at the hottest, most critical point in the entire system. We want that to be on the wall for easy service. If it does have to be replaced, it can be swapped out really easily. And it allows us to have one central place for energy harvest and conversion. So it allows us to harvest more of that energy. Speaking of warranty, a couple of things. So we have, when we're side-by-siding the warranties, it's interesting to note that, on the rooftop with SolarEdge optimizers and in-phase microinverters, they will have the same warranty, 25-year all-inclusive warranty on the roof. We also offer our installers a labor reimbursement warranty for a full 12 years. So if they do need to be reimbursed for any repairs going out to site, we are able to reimburse them for that. Our communications piece, same. We have cell cards or Wi-Fi, depending on what you're using, and they're going to have the same warranty associated with them on either side. And this is where that wall equipment differs. So we have our wall equipment, which is 12-year warranty standard, especially on a home wave inverter like we're talking about today. That warranty extension is very easy for a homeowner. If you have a homeowner that wants to extend their warranty to 25 years, it's a couple $100s, and they just need to do it in the first 48 months of that inverter being shipped to the warehouse. So it's very simple. The homeowner can do it on their own. If they just Google SolarEdge extended warranty, they can actually just apply for it online. So if you do have homeowners that are looking for warranty extensions, that's an easy way to do it. On the wall equipment on the microinverter side, they have the Envoy, which is that combiner box, and that has a 5-year warranty. So while a lot of salespeople like to talk about 25-year wrapped warranty with in-phase solution, it's important to note that that combiner box only has a 5-year warranty. And then one last point here is cost of ownership transfer. So if your homeowners are moving from their house, there are no transfer fees with the SolarEdge warranty because that warranty is actually on the site. It's not with the owner. So we keep that warranty with the location. Whereas with a microinverter solution, to transfer to a new owner, it's a $200 transfer fee and has to be done within 30 days of that new homeowner taking on ownership. So just a couple of pieces with warranty as well when we talk about setting ourselves apart. Okay, but what about this one? I have a quick question for this group. What has been happening with module wattage over the past couple of years? Have we seen anything happen? I'm sure we have. The trend has been pretty staggering. Yeah, I see it in the questions box. Module wattage has increased. Absolutely. We've seen it increase exponentially. After we had those challenges with the tariffs, right? We saw that all of these modules all of a sudden went over 400 watts. And what is the module that this team is using right now? Typically, I mean, we're seeing 440s, yep, 440s, 420s, 400s, yeah, almost over 400 every time. So The great news about SolarEdge is that we work at a system level. Remember, we have that inverter on the wall. This means that you have the flexibility to install the same kW regardless of the module size you're using. We don't care what module you're using. Your whole system size is going to be associated with that inverter no matter what. So we're going to do a little bit of math here. So we talked about that 7.6 inverter, 7.6 kW inverter, and we have the ability to oversize to 155%, which would mean you have the ability to, at maximum, put 11.7 kW of DC solar on a 40 amp breaker. Now, I like to use a 40 amp breaker because to me, that's kind of the sweet spot before a lot of times we need a main panel upgrade. And I want to avoid a main panel upgrade as much as possible, right? So if we can put 11.7 kW on a 40 amp breaker, what this means is if you have a 440 watt module, we can put about 4 extra modules on that system over the current microinverter solution without triggering a main panel upgrade. And how is that? Well, let's talk about what happens with a microinverter. I'm sure that if you have moved from a microinverter or moved from a lower wattage module to a higher wattage module, you have also moved to a higher powered microinverter as a result, which is not only more expensive, but they're actually requiring less modules per breaker for you. So let's talk about the same 40 amp breaker. When you were able to use a 350 watt module, we were safe before hitting a main panel upgrade or before having to put another string on over a 40 amp breaker because you were able to put an 11.2 kW on that system when you were using a 350. Maybe that was with an IQ8, right? Let's say that's with an IQ8. But if you move to an IQ8 Plus, you're now at a 380 watt module. That's taking you down to limiting you to 26 modules on a 40 amp breaker. So now you're limiting yourself to a 9.8 kW system before we need to go up to a 60 amp breaker. But now we're at a 440 watt module. We're limiting ourselves again because we need that higher powered micro, which is an IQ8A or M, whichever one you're using. And that's only allowing 22 modules on that same 40 amp breaker. And so now you're limiting yourself to a 9.6. So this is what happens, the higher wattage the module with a microinverter solution, the more powerful the micro that you'll need and the less modules you're going to be able to put on that string. So we want to avoid main panel upgrades whenever possible. And we kind of call this like the SolarEdge sweet spot. This is really just one example, but anything between that 9.6 and that 11.7, which by the way, I know a lot of this team has a average system size of 10 kW in a lot of cases, maybe 9. We want to be able to give you the flexibility to add about 4 to 5 more modules without having to trigger a main panel upgrade. So one of the things that I used to do when I was selling is I would always compare the two to see if I was able to avoid a main panel upgrade with SolarEdge, because it allowed me to, win at the kitchen table when you're going up against the microinverter solution and they needed a main panel upgrade, but you didn't. So plus, that helps us with limiting the need to expand our project timelines. That helps us with being able to have a better customer experience and avoid any delays. So make sure that you're looking at this sometimes. And yeah, great point, Eric. So how much clipping occurs at 11.7 on a 7.6 inverter if all modules are facing south? So again, because, and we kind of call it, we have broader shoulders on our inverters, which essentially means we start up earlier in the day, we stay on later at night, which allows us to also have some efficiency gains. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But in terms of clipping on a system level, if you're going a full 155, we recommend doing it on multiple roof planes. If you have a south-facing roof, we'd recommend doing like 150%. So this is definitely a good point here. If you have multi-level roof planes, the 155 is a great solution because it allows you to leverage where that sun is at any given time, which allows us to harvest more energy. Antonia, about our website. So we actually, the question is, will you be updating your website soon? So we actually just, I don't know if you've seen it in the last week or so, have an entire new user interface for our website. So you might be pleasantly surprised. If you have any specific things that you're looking for that are challenging, please let me know, because I would love to give that feedback to the website team. But we have a brand new website that is a much snazzier user interface. So here's that point I mentioned, a couple of things, just kind of a summary of, us solar only versus the competition here. You get about 5 days of extra power every year, because remember that efficiency gain that allows us to boost up our voltage, that allows us to not clip at every single module. So you get about 5 extra days of power every year. I mentioned we start up sooner and stay on later. So you only need 8 volts of energy to actually start producing and to keep producing. So that allows us to stay on, or start producing earlier and stay on later. With a microinverter solution, you need 25 volts to do the same thing. The max continuous power per panel. So this is a fancy way of saying the way that we support higher wattage modules. We have a new optimizer, 2 new optimizers, you've probably seen them, S440s, S500Bs. We also have an S650 for all of those people that are looking to do up to a 650 watt module on a residential space. So we have the ability to sustain up to 650 watts really now. But the standard residential optimizers we have is the S440, S500. So you can go up to a 500 watt module, no problem at all, and we won't be clipping at a module level. And then remember, if you have the capability to oversize to 155%, and this will minimize clipping when compared to a microinverter solution, especially on multi-level roof planes. If this team hasn't used SolarEdge Designer, we do have a free design tool. So to your question, Eric, about clipping annually, I would highly recommend going on to the designer tool and doing some configurations on there, because it will tell you exactly how much you're clipping or not clipping on an annual basis based on oversizing. So that is a free tool, solaredge.com/designer. If you have a monitoring portal account, which I'm sure a lot of you do, you have access to Designer. It's the same login. I wanted to mention one more thing. So if you do have homeowners that are going with this solar only home wave inverter, or you have homeowners that already have this on their house and you're thinking, gosh, I want to be able to sell them something else as an upsell. Maybe you're going back to all your homeowners during Christmas time and giving them a couple of new solutions to sell additional products. The SolarEdge EV charger is readily available in the market. It's been out for about 3 years now, but this can integrate into a home wave inverter. So all you would need, and distribution will have it, all you will need is what's called a solar boost kit. It's a small terminal block that you put into the home wave inverter just to wire this directly into the inverter. But this is a really easy upsell. It's a way to differentiate. It has a 5-year warranty with it, extended cable length. We also have something called solar boost mode. So if there's excess solar from the roof that isn't being used, we can throw it directly in the car, which is pretty cool. It allows you to charge faster on grid plus solar energy, or you can trickle charge just by using solar energy. So if you are looking for another product in your portfolio to upsell, might be a great solution for you alongside that home wave inverter. We have a couple of new tools as well, one of which, if this team hasn't seen it yet, through SetApp. So if your installation crews are using SetApp, which I know they are because that's how you commission on site, they will see now this installation toolkit. When they open up the SetApp application on their phone, they'll see 3 little dots in the right-hand corner. This will open up this menu, and they will be able to see this entire checklist of how you install from beginning to end the products that you're installing. So you can do the checklist. If that installer in particular needs a little bit of support, they press that play button, and there's a really quick video that will show them exactly how to do that step. So this has really helped installers not having to call into our service department. It allows speeding up installations, getting off the site quicker. So if you do have a team out there, make sure that they know that this installation toolkit's available to them in the field. We also have Edge Academy. We've updated all of our certifications on there. So if you do need certifications that are NABCEP continuous learning credit capable or eligible, we have those all on our Edge Academy platform. Good news is if you have a monitoring portal account, you have this access as well, solaredge.com/Edge Academy. So you have that access with that same login, and all of these certifications are self-paced, interactive. You can also take that no-call RMA certification so that you don't have to call into the service center anymore for replacements. We have that all through Edge Academy. Okay, that's what I had for you today. Let me see if there's any other questions. I know we went a little speedy, but I do hope that there were a couple of nuggets here that you took away. Any other questions here? All right, I think that we covered all. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Yeah, I think we covered all of the questions. I'm going to put my email address in the chat box just in case you do have any follow-up questions after reviewing the content. If you do need any spec sheets or anything like that, again, we have a brand new website, so check it out. Those are all on there. There's a couple of app notes as well that are new on that site. I just put my email in the chat. So if you need anything at all, please reach out. I'll make sure that you're connected to the right person, and we will talk soon. Everyone have a great rest of your week.